Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay, my oh my, what a wonderful day. I'm having a good day. I just feel like, I don't know why, I'm in a really good mood today and I wanted to share it. So forgive my singing or my attempts at singing, but that's how I'm feeling today. Actually, I've had a really nice week. Joe's been off work this week on holiday and we've done some nice things and we've been to some nice places. And before I share my results with you, I just wanted to show you something. On Wednesday, Joe took an elderly friend and myself out for coffee to a place called Thoresby, which is part of Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood's old stomping grounds. And while we were there, Joe took a couple of photographs and I just wanted to share them with you. I'm going to ask Joe to hold them by the camera so you can see them properly. This first picture is me and a friend who's in her 80s. And Joe took this picture of us for her. And she said at the time, I bet you've lost as much as I weigh. So cheekily I said, what do you weigh? And she said, I'm 10 stone 10. Well, as of today, I've lost her plus another 2 stone and half a pound. And perhaps that's why I'm in a jolly good mood, eh? Yeah, I can't believe that if you actually combined us in the same body and then added an average sort of 15 to 18 month-year-old child, that's how much I used to weigh. How on earth did I get myself to that place? How did I get to 22 stone and not realise it? Anyway, the other picture, I'm going to ask Joe to show you, is what was taken at the same time, and it's just me in my size 10 outfit. I'm wearing a size 10 top from the White Company, which I showed a few weeks ago on my vlog. Size 10 petite jeans from Wallace, which are new stock at £35, and they're a really comfortable pair of jeans. And my shoes are called Toms. And the reason I bought those, and Joe told me this at the time, if you buy a pair of Toms and they're really comfy, what do, Joe? The company give a pair of shoes to somebody in the third world?
Yeah.
So it's really nice. They're 40 quid. You can buy them in places like Office and I'm not sure where else sell them. Lots of places, I assume. But you buy a pair and somebody in the third world gets a pair of shoes. And I think they probably need them more than we do. Yeah. So I'm in a good place this week. I am so in a good place this week. I did my coconut experiment and you know what? I really enjoyed it. I started off, didn't I, by saying I was going to have 35 grams of coconut flour. So I did on Monday and Tuesday. I had 35 grams of coconut flour in my quark and mixed it with Yeo organic full fat yogurt at 2 cents for a 150 gram pot. It was too filling. Not because of the amount of quark and yogurt, because that's what I'm used to having, but the coconut was just too filling. So I want to thank the people who pointed out on my vlog that you can have coconut as a bee choice. I'd totally forgotten that, although I've done it before. What I decided to do, because coconut flour is the same calorific value as fresh coconut, I amended it to put in 15 grams of coconut flour into my yogurt mix, and I had 20 grams of fresh coconut. We buy that in Asda, it's £1 for 100 grams. So that's what I did on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. 15 grams of coconut flour, 20 grams of fresh coconut. And oh my, that breakfast kept me full from 8 o'clock and I wasn't having lunch until probably 2 p.m, was I, Joe?
Yeah, or later some
Or
days.
later some days, because I was just, I mean, we've been out and about and doing stuff. Food was not on the agenda because I was so satisfied, and I think that's helped by the extra bit of fat in the yogurt. I'm going to be perfectly frank and say I have not missed Muller Lights at all. I think the sweetness in them was too much for me and the stage I've got to, and they were just a vehicle for mixing my Weetabix in. And I haven't honestly missed Weetabix either. I've really surprised myself because I actually had already made my breakfast for last Saturday and Sunday with my Weetabix and my Muller Light. When it came to Monday morning, I thought, oh God, Jane, you and your mouth. Why did you say you were going to do this? I thought it was going to be difficult. It wasn't. I've really enjoyed my breakfast, so much so that I'm going to carry on for now with that breakfast. I've had an average of 8 sins a day. My total sins for the week were 55.5. So 8 sins a day, which is a bit down on last week because I pushed it up to 11 because I needed a gain. I've walked 38.69 miles this week, and I'm going to blame Joe for that because he bought a really good book on Audible by somebody called Joseph McCullough, and it's called Fat for Fuel.
Yeah.
So what we do when we go walking in the mornings before breakfast and in the evenings, we share a set of earbuds. He has the right hand ear and I have the left hand ear, and Joe carries his iPhone, and we've been listening to this book as we've walked. We've enjoyed the book so much that we've like, well, let's do another couple of circuits because we want to finish this chapter. That's actually led to us walking a bit further this week. So yeah, 38.69 miles this week. And the result I got, I was expecting a loss when I stood in the queue this morning, in all honesty. If anybody had said put money on it, I'd have said I lost £1. That's how it felt. I got on the scales, I lost £2.5. So I've actually fallen out at the bottom of the target by £0.5, but not to worry, I've got a plan for next week. I'm really chuffed with that because for the 2 years plus that I've been doing Slimming World, Joe who has a far better knowledge of healthy eating than I do. I've just stuck to plan and really enjoyed it. Joe has continually told me for the whole of that period, go on Joe, it's not
fat that makes you fat.
It's
sugar.
And I've kept saying, yeah, and carrying on doing what I was doing because I still had back then a very sweet tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth today. So much so that I don't use any sweeteners or sugars. I don't use honey anymore. I've kind of moved away because I like to taste what I'm eating rather than sweetness. And it's been a gradual process. It hasn't been something I set out to do. It's just happened. So this week it's been lovely. We've been baking sweet potatoes rather than roasting them with fat. And oh my God.
No, it was a butternut squash.
Sorry, did I say sweet potato?
Yeah.
It's because I was just talking about them with Linda. We've been baking butternut squash rather than roasting it with oil. And oh my God, I like it so much better. But when it's baked, Joe then mushes up the flesh inside the skin with, I just used 3 grams of Kerrygold butter for 1 sin. And that did 2 halves of a small butternut squash, and you could taste the butter. And then a friend, Liz the journalist, who I did a video with, said to me, do you eat the skins on your butternut squash? And I'm like, no. And she said, you ought to, you're missing out, it's fabulous fibre and they taste good. So we did it this week, didn't we? Mm-hmm. I ate the skin and all, and I'm like, do me another one. I'm going to have it again today, it was so nice. So if you wash, a medium-sized butternut squash, wash it because you don't know who's been handling them. It could have been me. I'll pick up 6 before I decide which one I'm buying. Wash your butternut squash and dry it. Cut it in half lengthways. Scoop out the seeds and discard them. Bake it in the oven on a tinfoil tray or a baking tray. 180 for about an hour, yeah? And you'll see it start to caramelise. Then take it out, mush up the inside. I'd recommend adding a bit of butter, but you don't need to if you don't want to. You could pour, I don't know, bolognese over it or something. It's just, a vehicle for something. You could put cream cheese in it if you wanted to sin it, but I just liked it with the butter. And it is gorgeous. And it's speed. I was just blown away by it. I've liked butternut squash for a long time, but my old way would have been to roast it with fat. You don't need to. Save your sins for other things. Another food item.
Oh, you were going to talk about the difference in the coconut flours.
Oh yeah, let me just pop back to coconut. When I showed the coconut flour last week, that was Groovy Food Company, wasn't it? That is really fine coconut flour. This one, can you put that in shot for me, Dan?
Yeah.
This one, which is the one that's currently on sale in Aldi for £1.69. Is that 300 or 400 grams?
300.
300 grams for £1.69. The Groovy Food Company is 500 grams for £3.79 in Morrison's. This one, I would say, is halfway between the fine Groovy Food Company one and desiccated coconut. It's much coarser, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah.
So if you were going to make pancakes with it, or maybe even muffins, I would use the Groovy Food one, the finer one, which is 4.5 sins for 25 grams. Yeah. This one, I'm not sure of the sin count.
It's exactly the same.
It's the same.
Coconut flour.
Yeah, but one of them, the one
Oh,
you
yeah.
buy in Holland and Barrett, the one that begins with T, and I can't remember. Tiana, is only 3.5 sins for 25 grams. So there is a difference. You need to check your app, which makes me want to remind you of something else that's just shot into my mind. Yeah, so that's the difference. The Groovy Food Company one is much finer and would blend itself better to baking, I believe. Both of them are nice in yoghurt. Personally, I like the Groovy Food one better. Joe likes the Aldi one better. So it's just personal taste.
And also,
Yeah?
it's next year. I don't want to say it before you show it.
Oh, no. I'm just going to say something else before I move to that.
Okay.
When I was just talking about checking the app, a chappie told me in group this morning, the Lotus biscuits that we've all been eating, you probably all know this because I'm maybe behind. The Lotus biscuits that we've all been eating for 1.5 sins or 3 for a packet of 2 are now 2 sins each. So so 4 sins for a packet of 2.
Sorry, yeah.
So if you've missed that, like I'd missed that, apparently he says it's on the app. So thanks, Tony.
No, other side.
I was doing that one first.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it's
Oh, I'll do this
talking
one
about
first because it's
breakfast.
related. Talking about breakfast, okay. I always said I don't like cinnamon. And Joe's always been a big fan of cinnamon. And then he asked me to try this. Can you hold that in camera shot?
Yeah.
This is Ceylon cinnamon. And Joe buys this in a local health food shop for £3 something for that great big plastic jar.
Yeah, it's 450 grams of
For
it.
£3,
390 probably.
£3.90-ish. There are 2 types of cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon and cassis, C-A-S-S-I-S cinnamon.
No, C-A-S-S-I-A, cassia.
Cassia,
Or
sorry.
I'd say cassia.
Yeah, C-A-S-S-I-A, cassia or cassia cinnamon. If you use cinnamon and buy it in the supermarkets in the little glass bottles, it might not say which one it is. If you're on blood thinners like warfarin or similar medications, the other one, the cassia, can be quite dangerous. It's contraindicated because it's a blood thinner. So if you're on any kind of medication and you're like me, you've discovered a love of cinnamon, if you can, possibly steer yourself towards using the Ceylon cinnamon. That's safer on the liver and is not a blood thinner. So I just wanted to share that information because I've discovered this week that if I put half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon in my yoghurt, I actually really like it. And for the whole of my life, I've shied away from cinnamon. I mean, I don't like the smell of cinnamon buns. I don't like cinnamon in apple pies, so I thought I didn't like cinnamon. But I actually like this Ceylon cinnamon. So if you're looking for something that's quite sweet but isn't calories, it's possibly an alternative, because I would say there's a sweetness to that if you used as much as, I don't know, a teaspoon probably, you'd find it quite good for sweetening. It doesn't dissolve in things, does it, Joe? So you couldn't use it for sweetening drinks. But if you like cinnamon, give it a go. Ceylon cinnamon. This is a little beauty. Do you want to hold this in shot?
Yeah, sure.
This is a little beauty that we discovered about a month or 2 ago, and it's called a Romanesco. I'll spell it because I didn't know. R-O-M-A-N-E-S-C-O.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a cross between cauliflower and broccoli. I would say it tastes like green cauliflower, which is what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is like, yeah.
But it's beautiful. Just steam it and it is really lovely.
It's a work of art.
What did you say the spirals are? Fibonacci?
I think it's like Fibonacci.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it's beautiful. And even if you
It's really amazing to look at. It is like,
yeah,
really.
it is a work of art.
Yeah.
But if you steam it and throw some on your salad, it's nice. Joe steams it and then dips it in nutritional yeast.
Yeah, nutritional yeast and avocado with it.
Yeah. Now,
A bit
nutritional
like
yeast,
cauliflower cheese.
a bit like cauliflower cheese. Nutritional yeast is Sins, so you'd have to check that on the app. But it's vegan, and if you're going to buy it, you can buy it fortified with vitamin B12, which if you don't eat much meat and things is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most vegans would take vitamin B12. But nutritional yeast does have a sort of nutty, cheesy flavour. Excuse me, but it's not cheese. I don't think it melts like cheese, does it? Is it kind of powdery?
Yeah,
It's
it
good
doesn't
for
go
dip.
gluey tacky like
Yeah, it doesn't
cheese
go
does.
gluey tacky like cheese, so you wouldn't.
But it's got a
like-
very cheesy taste.
Yeah, you wouldn't throw it on the top of your pizza to melt it. It's not that kind of thing, but it is really nice. I can't quote the Sins, but I think Joe might check for us. Will you?
Yeah, just carry on.
Just
And
carry
I'll
on. Just
check.
carry on talking, Mother. Something I've never found difficult. I want to tell you what I've learned this week that I've actually found really interesting. For the whole of my adult life, as I grew and grew towards 22 stone, I used to quote something that I really believed, and that was, I don't have that little switch in my brain called satiety, which switches off and says you've had enough. I never knew when I'd had enough to eat. I could eat and then eat some more, and then pause for 2 minutes and then eat some more, and then have 3 packets of crisps and then a piece of cake, because I like to swap between sweet and savoury. But I can honestly say I never ever ever knew when to stop. The only time I stopped eating was when I was sleeping or throwing up. Apart from that, I ate all the time. I had a million excuses of why I should be eating, and I was actually quite frightened of when I first started losing weight. I was quite frightened of being too thin. I was still over 20 stone at that point. But anyway, these are the crazy things we go through on the journey. So I told myself for years, the reason I'm overweight, the reason I'm morbidly obese, the reason I've got a BMI of 56 is because the bit of my brain that tells me I'm full doesn't work. And I've actually heard this stated in lots of different places. I was kidding myself, I was fooling myself, and I was misinformed. I've learnt this week, I'd heard of something called leptin quite a long time ago, but didn't realise what it was. I'd heard of insulin, but until very recently I didn't realise insulin is a hormone. I just thought insulin was insulin. I didn't know it was a hormone. Leptin is also a hormone. Not sure which bit of your body releases it. It'd be one of the glands in your body.
Your fat cells.
Your fat cells, thank you, Joe. Your fat cells release leptin, which is spelled Leptin, in case you want to look it up. There's also another hormone called, let me get it right. Now I was going to say gremlin, but it's not.
It's close. Ghrelin.
Ghrelin, spelled Grelin. I should have spelt it to myself. So leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is released by your fat hormones as you eat.
Fat hormone.
Fat cells. Oh God. Leptin is released by your fat cells as you eat. So the more you eat, the more leptin is released by your fat cells. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah.
You should get to the stage eventually where you've got enough leptin in your body to know that you are full. That's enough, stop. Okay? If you continually ignore that hormonal response like I did, and you keep pushing it beyond the boundary and enabling your body to release more and more leptin, you become kind of intolerant, so that your receptors can't read it anymore. Just in the same way that if you push and push the glucose thing so that your body releases more and more insulin, you become insulin resistant, you can become leptin resistant.
It's like people who live near busy roads. Eventually you stop hearing the busy road, whereas if I went to live somewhere that was next to the M1, I'd be like flipping out the noise of the traffic all the time.
Yeah.
But someone who lives there probably doesn't hear it.
We can become resistant
to
to those things. So in effect, as we become leptin resistant or insulin resistant, our receptors can't hear those things anymore. So we've pushed it beyond the boundary and beyond the boundary. What should happen when you've eaten enough and you're full so that the leptin response is read by the receptors and your body knows it's had enough? It's not until your hunger starts to increase because you're naturally ready to eat, you burned off some fuel, that the ghrelin comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And actually says, okay, mate, you're hungry again, it's time to eat. And then you eat, the leptin goes up until the leptin tells you, if your receptors still work, hey Jane, you've eaten enough, and satiety comes in. Now, because I'd pushed it for so many years and pushed it so far.
And certain foods don't trigger these hormonal responses the right way.
Okay, well, can you tell us some of those in a minute?
Yeah, just processed foods.
Processed foods, okay, there you go. So I'd pushed it so far that my receptors couldn't hear the leptin shouting, she's had enough, the big woman's full. And I pushed it beyond the limit. But that was my choice. I did that to me, right? But all the time, I'm blaming the chemistry of my body by saying, I don't have the switch that switches me off. I did it to myself. What I've learned today is, now that I don't push myself beyond the boundaries anymore, the hormone responses coming from the fat cells of my body are being heard by the receptors. And oh my God, do I know when I've had enough food today. And I can tell you genuinely, for the whole of my growing up life and to being an adult and then living as an adult for many years, I did not know what that felt like. But I do today. When I eat my breakfast in the morning, and now that my breakfast has got healthy fat in it and healthy fibre in it, I know when I've had enough. I really know when I've had enough. And when I sit down and I have my lunch and I follow it with a bowl of watermelon for my dessert, I'm halfway through that bowl of watermelon and I know I've had enough. And I know when to stop today. So when Slimming World says to me, eat until you're comfortably full, when I first came to Slimming World, I hadn't got a clue what that felt like. I only knew what it felt like to eat until I was stuffed, or as we would say around here, podged. Or as my friend Joyce used to say, TTT, tummy touching table. I only knew how to overeat. I didn't know how to eat healthily. And I'm just so grateful today that I actually know the difference. And it's only been because of Slimming World. It's been because of Slimming World that I know what is a healthy option and I know now when to stop. And I honestly believe today that I am making this journey easier for myself by resisting the impulse to eat sugars. Had a really nice evening.
Yeah, sorry, just to say, when I say processed foods as well, what I really mean is like refined carbohydrates and stuff like that. So even though these things are free on plan, it's probably not the best idea to be eating like too much bread or too much pasta and cereals and grains and stuff like that, because
Oh, thanks for that, Jane.
Sorry, just to kind of interrupt.
No, that's really kind, thanks. I had a really nice email from a lovely lass yesterday who asked me, Jane, if you're off plan for any reason and you're struggling again the next day to stick to plan, how do you get back on plan? And I answered her honestly in how I would do it today and why I feel I can do it today. And that's not because I'm any better than anybody else, it's because I've learned a way that works for me. And the way I'd do it today is I would just say no. It's the best tool. It's the best tool I've got is to say no to the greedy part of myself. I don't need any other strategies. I don't need anyone else to stop me eating it. I don't need my husband, bless him, who used to say, I'll hide it for you. Don't need any of that anymore. I need 1 2-letter word, no. And when I'm thinking, could I have, should I have, would I have, can I push it? The answer's no. And as long as you say no to yourself, I believe it gets easier. It's no good your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your kids saying, Mum, you shouldn't be doing that. Because the rebel in me always said, sod you, I'm going to. But I can say no to myself today, and it turns off all the stress and all the anxiety and all the decision making. So even if I've got decision fatigue and it's the end of a long, tiring day, I can still say no to myself. It's not a hard word to say. Something I came across in a book I was reading this week was just a little saying: don't expect anything to get easier. So don't expect this plan to get easier. It doesn't matter how long you've been on it. Don't expect it to get easier. Just make yourself stronger. And changing habits and beginning to practice them regularly, daily, hourly, whatever, makes you stronger. So don't keep falling off the wagon and buying the crap food. Steer yourself away from it. That's my advice. You don't have to do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying think about it. It's what I've done. If you don't want to eat biscuits and cake and that just for this week, if you don't want to eat it, don't waste your money buying it. If you are actually still buying stuff like that, I mean, it's harder if you live within a family. You've got to consider other people. But if it's not good enough for me to eat, why would I feed it to my kids or my husband? You know, I trained Joe to overeat. Well, I thought I did. He had the sense and a love of good food and didn't do it. If he'd been anything more like me rather than more like his dad in that respect, he would have been 20 stone today. Anyway, I think I've said enough. Did you need to say anything else?
You've got avocado.
Plan for next week. Yeah, I nearly forgot that.
I know.
Because I need to put weight on next week, I'm not going to take a big risk. I'm going to stick to plan. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 4 healthy extras every day, as I always do. Generally I have around the 7 or 8 sin mark, but I'm going to make my sins up to 15 every day with avocado. It feels like a real treat because I love the stuff. He eats 1 or 2 every day and I'm usually quite jealous. So I'm going to make my sins up every day to 15 this week by the use of avocado. Something else I learnt this week: you don't need to buy organic avocados. They're pretty immune to toxic pesticides and things, apparently. So there you go. We used to buy organic ones, we don't need to anymore. We didn't always anyway, because we generally buy them in Aldi.
I think we only want them once or twice organic.
Yeah, the Aldi ones are good enough for us, aren't
Very
they?
good, yeah.
Theirs are good. This week on their Super 6 they've got papaya. If you want a healthy vegetable, read the health benefits of fruit. Till I haven't had breakfast. If you want a healthy fruit and you go in Aldi, read the health benefits of eating papaya. It's really good for you. And if you've never had it before, well, it's on the Super 6. Take advantage of the low cost and try it. I'm just discovering more and more of an excitement around vegetables and fruit. I'm willing to try anything. So if anybody out there has got any fruit or vegetables that you want to suggest that you think I might never have tried, like if you buy a yam, what do you do with it? Things like that. I'm open to trying. So I think we're finished, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's everything.
We need to go because I must eat breakfast. It's lunchtime and Saturdays are always a bit like this. We're always kind of chasing our tails on a Saturday. But yeah, had a fabulous week. I am passionate about this plan. I really love the way it works and I love the way it's encouraging me, directly or indirectly, to explore healthier options. I'm never going to go clean. I'm never going to say I am a clean eater, because I'm not. I'm just eating the best I can for today and trying things I've never tried and mixing it up a bit and loving it. So remember, as I say, it works if you work it, it won't if you don't. I did and it did. And I'm actually quite blown away this week. 2.5 pounds off from Target. 9 stone 3.5, the lowest weight I've ever been since I was 11 years old. So that's a total weight loss of 12 stone 10.5 pounds. No wonder I'm chuffed. See you next Saturday. Bye.